Got volume all the way up. Starting the output as soon as it lets me.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Alright, because all I see is me.
Oh. Yeah, turn off your camera. Just let it be an audio.
Is that better?
Yeah, Tony's here. Wow. All right. There we go. I'm going to play a little intro music and we'll get started here.
Checking, 1, 2, 3. Checking, 1, 2, 3.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Chris Wild bringing you back again, another episode of Breaking the Fourth Wall. Today, I have a special announcement. We have a full panel with us today, making his return, his triumphant return from wherever the hell he was hiding last week. Making his triumphant return from wherever the hell he was hiding at last week, we have Amadeus Thorn.
Hello, hello.
We have, joining us again, Brian Hayden. And as a... Sorry, go ahead.
No, just saying hey.
Hey. And as a special time, 2 weeks in a row, welcome JT Wild, my son.
How's it going? Yo, JT! It's been forever!
Yeah, little known fact, Mike Thorne is the first person besides his mother that actually held Joey when he was first born.
Well, we're going to keep bringing that up, making me feel old. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Well,
I'm only 20.
We talked about it the other day. We talked about it the other day. That flesh-colored yarmulke should make you feel old.
You know what? You can kiss my ass. How's that?
Oh, promises. So anyway, today's topic we thought we would pick on is sports. And
sports? I might as well just be out of this one.
Well, no. You'll enjoy this because it's picking on... I'm not talking about baseball, football, hockey. Even though I don't consider it a sport, I'm not necessarily picking on basketball either. But these obscure sports that you see around. And I mean, it's fitting with the... It's fitting with the Olympics going on right now. That we talk about some things. It's like it's considered a sport in the world, or it's built to being a sport. But
yeah,
really,
I don't know what's going on, but your mic is cutting in and out.
Yeah, as always.
Really? I'm hearing me just fine.
You always hear yourself just fine.
Yeah, well.
Right.
Well, as I was saying, the major deal is like, the world may consider it a sport, but really should it be considered a sport? Like, for a perfect first example is like dodgeball. Dodgeball I would actually consider a sport because, I mean, you're running around playing with a ball, trying to avoid getting hit. But is it really something that would be considered a televised sport?
Jesus Christ, what are you doing?
I'm not doing anything. That one's not me.
That's my bad. Moving along furniture. I figured I was outside talking, so I may as well do it, but I didn't realize it was going to kick that much feedback.
All right, so now we know.
I'm just going to sit down now.
There you go. Sit down and enjoy the conversation. So,
me sit down? Too long? Hell no.
So I'm going to go to Brian first on this one because I know he's already got something prepared for us. So, Brian, go ahead. Start us off.
How about some extreme ironing?
What?
Extreme ironing? That's a thing?
Yeah,
right? You mean like ironing shirts?
Yeah, but you're doing it while you're on the hanging on the back of a boat.
I mean, that sounds a little funny. I would watch it, but I don't think it's a sport.
No, I'm with JT on the long. There's no way it would be a sport, but it'd be fun to watch for about 5 minutes.
Well, is there details to that? I mean, like, what's the goal? Like, have the most pressed pants with the straightest crease while running down the rapids? I mean, what is it?
Basically, that's what it is. You're on a board. You got one hand holding on to the rope, and the other arm you're sitting there pressing your pants or your shirt.
Did you really just say that?
Yeah, and there actually is a burrow, the extreme ironing burrow.
Oh God, stop it!
The latest danger sport that combines the thrills of an extreme outdoor activity with the satisfaction of a well-pressed shirt.
This is how they sell it.
Okay, sure, whatever.
I can see.
Commission.
I can see where this one's going to go.
Definitely don't see it being a sport, but it could be entertaining in a way.
I can definitely see where this show's going to go today.
I can see entertaining.
I don't know. I think I'd watch it.
Oh yeah, just for S's and G's, just like it'd be like watching the first episode of Camp WWE. You watch the first 5 minutes and you're done.
See, I was going to say fishing. Now, see, I love.
I'd rather watch grass grow.
See, as a sport, something to do. I love fishing, but a fishing show. You ever flip through the channels and you come to a fishing show? You can't help but stop for at least 5 minutes just to see if the bastard catches anything.
Yeah, good point.
Otherwise,
all right. How about this?
All right, go ahead.
I'm in my backyard. What about extreme grass cutting? Why not?
The sad thing is if I wasn't running the stream right now, I would look that up to see if it actually is a sport.
And if it's not, I'm starting it.
Sponsored by John Deere.
I mean, I know they got lawnmower races.
Well, yeah, but that's lawnmower races, and I'm thinking in extreme grass cutting, like you have to come up with a Tim Allen type of more power, kind of thing, and cut grass. Doing something else.
Well, I mean, that's kind of fair because, I mean, in the areas where we live, we have a radio station out here, WMMR, that has a morning show called Preston and Steve. And Preston and Steve always annually do that soapbox derby race.
Soapbox derby?
Yeah, they have people like build old-fashioned soapbox cars to ride down a giant hill with, and it's sponsored by a beer company. Surprise!
Oh, you're talking about the sled thing?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't tell. What's it's gonna kill me now.
I mean,
when I remember it.
I mean, we all have different. All cultures have a different type of thing they consider a sport. I mean, in Canada, they consider not only curling a sport, they consider it an Olympic event sport.
Mm-hmm.
Curling. Let me explain what this is. I'm going to stand on a sheet of ice. I'm going to push a rock down that slippery ice. While I'm doing that, you guys are going to stand there with brooms and brush in front of the rock to make sure it goes as far as it can. This is a sport.
Okay.
Sounds a little strange. Okay.
You never watched the Winter Olympics? This is an actual sport.
I don't watch the Olympics because I have other things better to do. No offense to anybody, but
probably won't pay attention to the Olympics until 2020.
Yes. This'll bring up a conversation. Go ahead, Joe. What's coming in 2020 to the Olympics?
In 2020, a new sport or if you consider a sport, I do. Skateboarding will now be an Olympic sport in 2020.
I can buy that for $1.
Well, let's start off with that. Skateboarding started out pretty much in the 1980s, before it really became mainstream and started becoming like X Games and high profile people like Tony Hawk, Bam Margera, and then Joey can name some of the newer type skaters. But I mean, it was something that we all did to piss off our parents, and now it's
Cardboard Classics.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a random thing, but my mind's sitting here spinning on what the hell is it called?
But when we were kids, we would do the skateboarding just to piss off our parents, and annoy the neighborhood. It never was something that it's become now, which is, this competitive thing, and it's built its own culture. It's built its own competitive competition. That's the word I'm looking for in the X Games. But is it really a sport? Because it was a child's toy that we played with when we were, younger than teens.
I'm going to say yeah. It can become a sport
Okay,
if it doesn't become one already.
it is basically.
If you think about what you're doing, one, skateboarding can be used for racing, and it's used for stunts. So why not?
Okay. Brian, how you feeling on skateboarding being an Olympic event?
I think it's okay because don't they already have it in like the X Games and stuff like that?
They have it on the X Games, and they show it on ESPN every summer. They have a competition that was created by Rob Dyrdek, which is Street League Skateboarding, which is the biggest skateboarding competition around right now.
So he's living on a mountain somewhere.
Giving out, about 200,000 or more prize winning for each stop, and there's about 4 or 5 of them each year.
What am I doing wrong?
We stopped playing with our toys.
Yeah. Ow.
Our
I'm
parents
actually
forced
sitting here peeling skin.
our parents forced us to go out and get jobs instead of hanging out skateboarding.
Yeah. Yeah, at 20 years old. What?
Oh man. Well, I mean, the only thing I'll argue the point on with you, Joe, is stating that it's on ESPN, which I know it is. I know what you're talking about, but to me, that doesn't necessarily classify it as sport. And I'm not picking on skateboarding. In fact, I'm playing the devil advocate here, but at the same time, I do consider skateboarding a sport. But I'm being the voice of negativity to it, just to have a conflict of what some people may view skateboarding as, which is really nothing more than a bunch of hooligans going around and destroying public property.
That's half the fun.
That's
I think what people don't realize about skateboarding is how much of like a physical, like how physical it is. Like it's got a lot to do. Like you got, obviously your balance. You got to train like pretty much muscle memory in your legs and sometimes your arms to do certain tricks, and just the endurance of just like you're not going to get everything first try, so you're going on every like one after another. Just like I guess you could say like the physical strain on your body from it. There's a lot.
Okay.
And people don't take that into consideration. Also, mentally, you have to think about what trick you're doing, and you got to think about what it is and time your body. The body works from the brain. So without the mental, there's no physical.
Yeah.
Well, again, I'm agreeing with you guys. I'm only playing the opposite side of the argument because we don't have anybody here giving the opposite side of the argument. But the one counterpoint that I'll give to it is just because skateboarding's on ESPN does not necessarily classify it as viable to be a sport. Magic the Gathering card game was on ESPN as a tournament. Is that a sport?
That could go on like the World Series of Poker kind of thing.
Right. Is that a sport? Oh, World Series of Poker is another good one. Is that a sport?
I can't consider that a sport.
I mean, it does have the qualities of competition, but would you call it a sport?
No.
Not at all. It's a card game.
Yeah, exactly. It's mental. It's actually it's all luck of the draw. Skateboarding is not luck of the draw. It's your body is literally working with a piece of wood and wheels. So you're doing what you can to physically control this inanimate object in order to, like bowling or baseball or anything else for that matter, or football. You're controlling an inanimate object to go in the direction you want it to go in. Cards, you can't control that unless you're counting them.
Well, going back to the Magic the Gathering thing, I don't know how much any of you guys have played it. I know Joey's played like Yu-Gi-Oh, which is basically the same thing.
What's Yu-Gi-Oh?
Another card game.
Okay.
But these are structured deck things where you actually build your deck. So I mean, it's still kind of a luck of the draw type deal. But if you're building a 40 card deck, you've got a 1 in 40 chance of pulling out the cards you need when you're playing against an opponent. So I think there's a little bit more strategy within like Magic and or Yu-Gi-Oh or card games of that nature as opposed to just poker, which really is luck of the draw. Whatever the dealer gives you is what you have.
Mhm.
Brian, what do you think?
I don't see it as a sport.
Not at all.
Nope.
All right. Well, we were discussing it on topic last week. Thorne wasn't here for it, but we were talking about video games, and this is something Joey wanted to touch base on, so that's why we kind of made this show about sports and whether it is sports or not. Call of Duty World Championship League or Halo World League. These are video games that are played by team to competition, where they are giving out ridiculous sums of prize money for first and second place winners. It is a global event. I mean, there are teams from all over the world competing in this thing, but can it really be considered a sport, or should it even be considered a sport? It's a video game.
Let's see. Let me ask you this question. I'm familiar with the game. I'm only familiar with sitting in front of a screen now with a controller in my hands. Is there anything further than that?
No, it's like how you play, except for you got full communication with four members in one team. The 4-on-4. It's a best of 5. They got five different maps you play on. Well, it won't only be 5 different maps, but it could be the same map with a different objective on it. Like, say, search and destroy on one map, and then you could play the game type hardpoint on another map. And this is what they do. They switch off, and it's the best of 5. And the last one they just had was in Orlando, and that was for $100,000 prize win. And it's pretty much split between the 4 players that are on the winning team.
To me, I wouldn't consider it a sporting event, so to speak, but definitely a gaming thing of sorts. I don't know how you would word it, but it's definitely a gamer's game thing. I don't know if you would consider it an actual sport.
It's a competition. It's not a sport.
Yeah, it's competitive gaming, I guess you could. Yeah, competitive gaming. You could put it as.
I'll put it as that. Yeah, absolutely.
And as a thing, like, it's been around. Like, competitive gaming's been getting bigger and bigger, like, every year. Like Halo, Call of Duty. We got Counter-Strike now and stuff like that. The prize winnings are getting ridiculous. Like, even for it not even being like a physical activity. Like, now they got COD XP coming up, which is like a really big Call of Duty like competitive gaming event, and the prize money for this competition is $2.6 million.
Whoa!
For playing a video game. And also, in the past 2 years, they actually introduced competitive Call of Duty to the X Games.
Oh, stop it. Really?
Which is where I brought up the conversation of whether or not this is an actual sport. Because the X Games is considered an actual sport. It is a competition of skateboarding and other forms of extreme sporting. But adding Call of Duty to something that showcases extreme sports, is Call of Duty a sport?
All right. Here's the only way I can consider it a sporting event. If you're going to do those helmets that you can see what you're doing inside of them, and you're maneuvering around, and they got it on the screen showing you're virtually shooting down and fighting, then yes, I'll give that something in that category of sporting if you're moving around and physically doing something besides, sitting there at a screen and with a controller in your hand.
Okay.
Am I making sense on that?
You kind of are, and I can play off of that. But Brian, you got anything to say on this?
Not much more than that. You kind of hit the nail on the head. There's no, there's no movement. There's nothing going around to classify.
I think really the only real physical thing you're doing in a game like that is using your hearing. Like, that's the only thing. Even at that, that's not really too physical. That's just using something you're born to use.
Well, I would say hand dexterity, if anything.
What? What's wrong?
So, But all right, well let me pose this to the panel. How could we turn Call of Duty into a sport?
That was
Right?
probably my fault. I probably knocked it over this morning.
to
when
kind
I
of-
was doing the
To kind of play off what Tony said.
yeah.
To kind of play off what Tony said. Tony said, "What if we did it like virtual reality?" I'll go one better for you, Joey. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't there a guy somewhere who actually built a paintball field based on one of the maps of Call of Duty, Nuketown?
There's multiple places that have them now. There's paintball fields designed after the map Nuketown, Scrapyard from Modern Warfare 2. Those are the only two I know of right now, but I know there's more.
All right, well, here's my thought then. If you want to have a Call of Duty themed type of sport, why not bring in building map areas like that and do a paintball competition or even a laser tag competition where you physically have to go out and do the things you do in the video game?
That would be awesome, but here's where I'm like, this is what I'm thinking. What about Black Ops 3 and Advanced Warfare? How are you going to mimic that in reality?
Well, you don't, the same way the game doesn't mimic reality. You go out and you do live combat, well, not live because they're not really soldiers and it's not live ammo, but combat exercises set in the real world, set to the theme of Call of Duty.
So laser tag in a set arena with pop-ups or built stages like they do in the movies.
Well, not the pop-ups, but you have the same obstacles in your way that you would have in the video game map, but it would be team versus team B.
Right.
So us four would be on one team taking on a team of four that starts on the opposite side of the field. First people to register 50 kills wins the round,
Right.
or something of that nature. Would that
Or
make
they
it,
should-
would
Or
that
they
make it
could
more of a
keep
sport?
objective play in it.
Or you
one
could put
second.
objective play like domination. You have 3 points on the map that you have to hold down. Capture the flag. We did.
It's probably sounding a little windy right now. So in case
Yeah, it
it's
is.
not.
All right. So, what do you guys think? Would that be a way of turning Call of Duty into an actual sport?
In the version we just discussed, yeah, why not?
But as the game itself, how they have it now, no. I don't think it's a sport, but I do think it's competitive.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go around the table then. Let's pick. I don't care what sport it is. Starting with Joey, name a sport that is considered and controlled as a sport. Just off the top of your head, the one that annoys you the most that is called a sport. That there's no way, shape, or form that it is.
One thing that is a sport that I don't think should be a sport. Do they consider NASCAR a sport? Because I don't think that's a sport at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah,
They do, and I feel the same
they
way.
do.
And don't get me wrong, I love watching cars race and everything like that, but it's not a sport. That is definitely a hobby.
Get out of my head, Joe.
Mm.
You're making a left turn. NASCAR, racing in general, is so not a sport. I mean, is it high endurance? Sure. You're running around in a circle for 500 miles or whatever the case may be, or if you're off-roading, there is a little element of danger of track conditions. But other than that, you're sitting in a car driving.
Yeah,
Not a
there's no
sport.
sportage in that.
Yeah, not a sport. Brian, how about you? Name a sport that is a sport that you don't think deserves or should be a sport.
I'd have to say golf.
Oh, come on.
You get up, you walk up to a ball, you hit it, then you get in your little cart and you drive to where the ball went.
No, that's why I said I'm saying come on, because that's the thought in my head just now, and I got to rethink.
All right, Thorn.
Hey, Brian took my idea. I got to think.
All right, well,
What is a sport?
I'll say fishing.
I live in a shell, that's why I'm having so much trouble.
I'll say fishing. Fishing is a pastime. Fishing was a way of life to feed your family. Fishing is not a competitive sport because it's just like poker, it's the luck of the draw. You're lucky enough to pull a bigger fish. That makes you a better athlete. You're still sitting there drinking beer holding a pole.
Hey, there you go. All right, darts.
Okay, well, let's hear your reasonings. Why darts?
That's not a sport.
Yeah.
You're in a bar, 99% of the time you're in a bar drunk off your ass, which is, well, most of our favorite pastimes. You're throwing an arrow, a small arrow, if you will, a dart, at a board. Now, it's competition, sure, but it's more of a gaming competition. The only thing physical you're actually doing is throwing a small dart at a board. What is so strenuously, physically strenuous about that? Mentally, maybe, sure, because you're competitive and you're trying to get the bullseye. Otherwise, no.
Yeah, no. Fun game, yes. Sport,
definitely.
no.
Well, see, I would put bowling in that same category. Bowling is pretty much the same thing. It's an excuse to get drunk more than anything else. Competitive, there is competitiveness to it. I will give it that much. But as far as athletic prowess, you walk up 3 steps and you roll a ball down a slick lane, hoping to hit pins. You know,
And in the same category as like fishing, hunting, they consider hunting a sport. Then this is coming from a hunter. It's not a sport. Again, it's a pastime.
Yeah.
It's definitely a hobby. I mean, and if you're out there just for the sake of killing something, that's not right.
True.
well, see,
If you're out there just shooting it, treating it like a sport, like, oh, I killed this many deer, or I killed this many pheasant, or whatever you're hunting for, like, that's not a sport. Like, that's not even right. That's just being inhumane.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree with him on that. I mean, to the point that I don't even consider like hunting or fishing as a hobby, as he said. It is a pastime, but it's also a life skill. I think it is something that everybody should know because it is a survival skill. It's something that we've always done, but it should be taught, like Joey just said, to be for the sake of eating, for the sake of survival, not for the sake of just getting a trophy on your wall or bragging rights with your buddies of, oh, I shot a 14 point buck, you know, or whatever the case may be. Did you eat it? Did you clean it? Did you do anything to? No, I just left it there. Fuck it. Kept its antlers.
Nah, see,
That's the thing. Yeah, I got my antlers in my room, but as soon as I shot that deer and took that 4 hours of dragging it out of the woods, I took it to a butcher. I got it cleaned up, chopped up into food. It still got some of it in the freezer right now. Like, yeah. If I won't eat it, I won't shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bastard still won't bring me no deer jerky.
I don't think I have any left.
All right, well let's flip the coin here real quick. Now, I already know what primarily most of your answers are going to be, but I'm going to present it anyway. Something that should be considered a sport, but is disrespected or not considered a sport.
Oh God! Don't even get me started on that. You already know where I'm going.
I know. Like I said, at least 3 out of 4 of us are going to say the exact same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, go ahead and give your reasons why.
Professional wrestling, because everyone feels it's fake, and it's not.
Okay.
Do we want me to go further? I can go further. And I won't go on a tangent either.
If you got something to say, say it.
I will. For one thing, 20 years being in the business, and that's the problem. I'm in the sport. I'm presently working in the sport. Arn Anderson and Al Snow both have great seminars on this and both have great ideas, and this I have to share it because I feel, what I mean by share it is I feel the same way. We go in there into this ring, and they say, oh, real wrestling doesn't have ropes. What we do may be choreography, fair enough. The falls are real. The hits are real. You can't tell me that taking a suplex or body slam isn't real. Oh, you're taught how to fall, though. You still gotta fall. And that ring, ouch. So it's just as much. I'd rather be in a wrestling ring for 20 minutes one-on-one than be on a football field praying to God I don't get killed. And people are still paying a ticket to watch two people perform. Football's the same thing. You're paying a ticket to watch a bunch of guys take a ball that's not even shaped like a ball to run across a field back and forth. Or take a bat and a ball and smack it and try and get it outside the stadium. What's the difference between, okay, the outcomes are predetermined? So what? You're still paying money to go see it. You're still physically in a ring, physically putting these holds on guys to try and compete for better attention. Oh, wait, football does the same thing. Sorry. So there's my tangent on that.
All right. Brian?
I totally agree with what Tony said. I mean, they did a study that shows that every, trying to keep some kayfabe here, but they say every fall that a wrestler takes is the equivalent to what? Like a 30-mile-an-hour head-on collision?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it is.
That ring ain't a trampoline, I can tell you that.
No, it's not. And even for the ones that are soft, you still have to fall and pray to God you don't smack your head and get a concussion.
All right. Joey?
1 second.
He must
Trying to
have
finish up my dinner here.
Now.
About to say he had a
But,
mouthful of
Fork in the
food.
knife I keep hearing.
But yeah, I think it should be considered a sport. I mean, some people just consider it as just entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like you guys said, like people say it's fake, but it is actually real to an extent. Like you said, you guys practice like all your moves and everything. Pretty much the match that's going to go down, and but how are you going to fake a slam? How are you going to like? Well, I don't know. You guys could probably answer this a little better. But how are you going to fake a chair to the head or something like that? Like
You don't.
Simply put, you don't.
Yeah.
There is
Exactly.
no faking
Like,
that. There is
so,
no
like-
pulling the punches on something like that.
The only thing I can truly see fake, okay, we call them spots. You're whipping someone across the ring. They turn their back to the ropes and come back at you. Okay, that's the choreography part of it. But when someone's picking you up off of that run and throwing you in the air, now you have to pray to God you land right. If you don't land right, you can break something. Football, somebody's coming in and tackling you, get hit by them, they're out to stop you and hurt you. What would you rather do? Which sport, which hit, which fall would you rather take?
Well, as a person who's played football and done pro wrestling, I think it's kind of semantic. I think either one sucks and either one is still good, because you got to remember, even in football, they're taught how to take a hit. They're taught how to deliver a hit. There are penalties if you grab somebody the wrong way or if you hit them in the wrong part of the body in football, because of the fact of permanent injury that could happen. Pro wrestling's the same way. You're taught how to fall, but it isn't so much so that way you can so you can lessen the impact to your body, but it's to make sure that certain parts of your body do not absorb any of that impact, which could cripple or kill you.
Now, hold on just a second right there. You're talking about taking hits. We're talking about, please lose my train of thought. Different impacts, different things. I just lost my train of thought. Shit. I hate when that happens. I had it, but I had to build up for it. Keep going. When I remember, I'll spit it out.
All right. So, I mean,
bad.
so either sport is kind of the same way. One of the major arguments against pro wrestling being more entertainment than a sport is, one, there are personalities, gimmicks as we call them, incorporated in to allow for drama. And of course, the biggest argument of it being fake is the fact that the matches are predetermined or choreographed, however you want to argue that point. But in reality, I mean, can you really say that the other sports aren't? Let's look at boxing for a perfect example. Let's talk about Mike Tyson's career. Mike Tyson is considered the baddest man on the planet, but how many matches were done in 30 seconds? You can't tell me he was that great and the other people were that much garbage.
That's what, getting hurt.
Yeah,
That's what I was going to say, about getting hurt. when you get hurt in a quote unquote, and I'm saying quote unquote for everything. When you're getting hurt in football, you're getting paid multi-million dollars. Everybody's getting paid whatever it is they're getting paid. So let's take away the payment for a moment, okay?
Okay.
When you get hurt, skateboarding per se, you're getting hurt. Do you cry about it, or do you just get back on the board and go?
Get back on and go.
Okay. When you get hurt in football with a broken finger or a broken rib, do you tape it up and get back on the field? Or do you go, oh, man, my fingernail broke, and now I got to take 6 months off for it to regrow so I can order catch the ball? Or you just tape it up and get back on the field because you're getting paid all that money. But again, we'll put the money to the side. When you break a rib in wrestling, you have to tape all that rib up and get back out in that ring again the very next night until it heals.
Actually,
unless it's severely broken.
Actually, there are many times, and Thorne, you know this, there are many times you take an injury in a match, and rule number 1 in pro wrestling is the show must go on. So,
that's right.
Regardless of that injury, you have so many minutes to be in that match. You're in that match. You don't even get it taped up or looked at until the match is done.
Right. Now, in football, you get hit too hard with whatever. You have a torn hamstring or you break your wrist or whatever it is. Immediately, the game stops, or at least after the play, but the game stops. Medics come out. You're laying there on the ground. They go, oh, what happened? I think I broke my wrist, and you're carted off the field. Then the game resumes with a fill-in. In wrestling, that shit don't happen. Triple H and oh, God, help me here. Triple H and... It was against Jericho. Oh, Triple H and Stone Cold against Benoit and Jericho. He tore his quad in the middle of the match. Nobody knew. He kept going until the match was over.
Well, I mean, if we're going to point out people like that, why don't we point out people like Mick Foley? How many times has he damaged himself in any match that he's done, especially because he was a hardcore performer, where he just muscled through it, i.e., like losing his ear in the ring. Hell in the Cell, he knocked a tooth through his bottom lip. Dislocated his shoulder.
Hardcore Holly, he snapped his arm in half and kept wrestling.
Sid Vicious.
Oh, God.
Sid Vicious,
he
when he
couldn't keep going, but the show kept going. And they did what they could well, I mean, his leg was flapping in the wind, but they came out, they did what they had to do, and they pulled him out and let the rest of the guys keep on going on with their stuff. They didn't stop anything. They put the camera on something else. When Owen Hart God rest his soul, when that happened, nobody knew anything. They just kept going.
Well, the people that were in the arena knew, but yeah, everybody else. The TV cameras were, look at this, don't look at this. Yeah. Yeah,
but in football, baseball, you get hit in the face with a ball, God forbid, when you're about up to bat, you get hit in the face with that ball. Okay, now you have a couple teeth that are loose, maybe a broken jaw, you're out for the season. Wrestling, you get hit with that, you have to put a mouth guard in, get surgery and everything else, and you're back as fast as you can. Why? Because there is no downtime. It's 360 days of the year, meaning. Not football's from what, September to April? June?
September till January. It's only 16 weeks.
Okay, so 16 weeks of football.
Not including the playoffs.
All right, so let's say 25 weeks total with everything. Preseason and postseason. 25 weeks. Then you're off, and you come back again. Wrestling doesn't have that.
All right, well...
Does it?
All right, well, I've got a question to pose to the panel then, since we're all pretty much in agreement that pro wrestling should go back to the moniker of sport and not sports entertainment. With the case being made, how would you say we could change the image of pro wrestling? Would it be bringing back the as Brian had stated earlier, the kayfabe or the secrets of the business, and playing off the facade, the carny facade, or would it be open up the doors and let these people know exactly what we're doing and how we do it, so they can actually look at us more as stuntmen and gymnasts, which both of which are considered athletes, as opposed to the way they view it now, which is just fake stunts and actors, terrible actors.
I actually have the answer for that.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, Brian, no, please, if you have the answer, if you have an opinion, please state it, because my answer is a little obvious, but it's not quite.
I mean, so many people are, the sport really has been, they've really given away pretty much the secrets to wrestling and how we do and how it's done, and people still call it carny bull crap. I don't think telling people any more of what we do is going to change their opinion.
But I mean, as far as the presentation of it.
Here's the problem. Over the years, you went from having the carnival act of tough guy getting in the ring like Darren Sheik used to do, the tough guy thing, step on up if you can beat me, great. And you couldn't beat the guy, whoever it was. Today is WrestleMania, where it's the glitz, the glamour, the celebrities, the prettier you are, the sexier you are, this and that and the third. What they've done, and I've watched Raw, they brought back the Attitude Era. You're actually competing. You may be giving flips and flaps, but you're competing. If you open the door and just break down the fourth wall, hence the name of our show, if you actually broke down that fourth wall and said, this is maybe taboo to you, but this is what we go through. This is exactly what we do. Training hard. Maybe, just maybe, letting you in instead of being so secret. Because let's answer this question. JT, Mom and Dad say don't go in that room. You're going to do everything you can to get in that room, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Now, if Mom and Dad opened up the door and said, go ahead in, now you don't give a shit. But you're going to be intrigued to say, what's in there? You go in and find out, wow, it really is boring in this room.
Yeah.
I rest my case. If you're going to be told, no, you can't know what we really do, you can't know, it's kayfabe, you can't really know, then people are going to go, oh, it's probably a fake carnival ride. But now open up the door and you watch John Cena work out 6 out of 7 days to keep his body in the shape that it's in, plus all the benefit stuff that he does, all the charity work, and he performs in the ring every single week, plus pay-per-views, you might have a little bit more respect for John Cena. And that's for all the athletes.
I don't think I can respect John Cena. But
I'm not saying you have to, but I'm saying respecting the athletes a little bit more, because this is what they do, because they don't get time off. They see their homes, every few months, maybe? Or they get one day off a week?
Right. All right, well, staying on the subject we're on, we heard from the 3 wrestlers, but we really didn't give the guy who would be the opposite end of the ring a chance to speak his mind on it. Joe, as a fan of pro wrestling, what would make you more believe it to be a sport and less entertainment?
Probably definitely if they would shut their mouths up and do more fighting than talking.
Yeah.
So bring it back to the days where in a 2-hour show there would be 8 to 10 matches instead of
making it like a damn soap opera.
Right.
It's like, let's be real, that's pretty much what WWE is anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
we're setting up the obvious.
Pretty much like a soap opera for like men in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously, Thorne's agreeing with that. Brian, how about you? You think that that would be the case? Bring back the actual in-ring work and take away the promo time?
I definitely think that would help because, I mean, as a wrestler and as a wrestling fan, I can tell you that a lot of those promos put me to sleep. Yeah, last night I was watching SmackDown, and I'll tell you about 9:30. I fell asleep. I actually fell asleep.
Well, I think, you know what? I have a hard time, especially after retiring. I have a hard time watching pro wrestling. First off, I can't stand the talent. The talent it's subpar compared to what used to be. I'm sorry, it is. I mean, there are people in there that have a lot of in-ring skill. But to me, to be a professional wrestler isn't just you're able to do spots or high spots. It is about being able to tell a story in the ring. It's about character personality. You know, it's about all these things wrapped into one package. And today's competitors are just, to me, they're subpar. But I think one of the point I'm trying to make is that when I became a pro wrestler, I started looking at pro wrestling differently. I started seeing it so much different because I knew how they were doing it. You know what I mean? And instead of watching it for the pure entertainment or athleticism of it, I was watching to see which spots they fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
or you would tape it just to watch to see how they did a certain thing so you can copy it when you got in the ring.
I tried not to copy people, but yeah, you're right.
Let's not lie. There's nothing original about the business anymore, and that's why it's called business. There's
Exactly.
nothing original anymore. It is too soap opera. I agree with Joey. If you are to do something to not only break down that wall I spoke about earlier, but to have more physical matches, if you're going to cut a promo, you get 20 seconds. 20, maybe 30 tops. Because you will lose the average wrestling fan in 5 of those seconds. Now, if you've got my attention within the 5 seconds, you've got another maybe 5 to 10, if you're lucky, to keep my attention long enough to know what's going on. But if you're sitting there for 20 goddamn minutes, you got 2 guys, 2 girls, you know it's going to be a mixed tag in the main event. You don't even have to bring out Mick Foley or Stephanie or Hunter or whatever. You already know what's going to happen. So what's the point in watching it?
All right, I've got one for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Who is the type wrestler that is the ultimate representation of pro wrestling as a sport? Now, I'm going to give...
What? You broke up.
Who would you consider? What type of wrestler would you consider the best representation of professional wrestling as a sport? As you know, there are four different types of pro wrestlers. You have your brawlers, which were like Arn Anderson or Sergeant Slaughter or the like that. Or you had your tacticians, which were like your Bret Harts and your oh, my brain's gonna freeze on me here. Dean Malenko's or Chris Benoit's. Then you had your high flyers and your luchadors like Rey Mysterio, like Shawn Michaels, like Rob Van Dam. Then you had your hardcore wrestlers, which were like Mick Foley and Terry Funk and, you know, the likes of that nature. What type of professional wrestler do you think would really be the forefront person to showcase pro wrestling as a legitimate sport and not just entertainment? And why?
There's too many. Even you have to go top 5 on that.
Oh, give me your top 5.
My top 1 is Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, and I'll give my reason why.
Well, he's a tactician, so go ahead.
He was able to do just about everything. He could flip, he could fly, which he's proven time and time again. The bigger the guy, the more he did. His selling tactics were not textbook. You hit him, he flips, but he doesn't overly flip. He just flips like your average guy would. You throw him over the top rope, he does exactly what anybody else would do. You grab on the top rope and pray to God. And then when you land, you fall. You land on the apron and you fall on the ground. You don't go flying over like you're taught. He showed the difference or a change in how it works. I like watching luchador work, but how many people are going to stand there for a man getting out on the top rope and doing a 480, 360, 120, whatever the hell it's called, and land? I'm not. It's not. It's too fake, and that's something the F word comes out. Luchador work, as beautiful as it is, it's entertainment because no one's going to stand there long enough. Go, oh, here he comes. I'm moving to the side, darn it, and you're going to fall. That's on you. Now, if I'm groggy enough, then yes. But who's going to stand there looking at the guy going, you coming down yet? You coming down yet? Sometime today. Am I wrong, Jay?
He's talking
I hear
to
you
you,
laughing.
Joe.
So, Jay, am I wrong about that?
No, not at all. Like, I was a big fan of people like Rey Mysterio, a big fan of him and everything like that. But just like the stuff he did was like too fake. Like, who's gonna lay there in between the ropes, waiting for somebody to come around, swing in between them, and kick them in the face?
Yeah.
Or after that, it's gonna get kicked in the face and then stand straight up from being in between the ropes and sit there and wait for him to jump off the top rope onto them to slam them into a pin.
Yeah, nobody.
It's not happening. Or what do they call that thing? I don't even remember what they call it, but when he jumps up and he grabs them around the neck with his legs and he spins around them like 30 fucking times and then slams them. Like, that shit ain't happening. Try that in like a real fight or something like that. You're just gonna get socked in the mouth and dropped.
Pretty much. And now come into, if you and I were to get into a fight, hypothetically speaking, we're getting into a fight. You
Well,
punch
hold
me in
that,
the
hold
mouth.
that, hold that thought for a split second here, because we do have 5 minutes left in the hour, which means we're gonna have to cut this live feed. I'm gonna propose to the panel here. We can continue going because I am recording the conversation as well, and I can upload a full thing, or we can cut it now and continue this next week. What does the panel want to do? Do we want to continue recording? It just won't be live. It'll be put up later. Or do we want to save this for next week?
I would say save it for next week because I do have stuff I have to do in the house, but I would love to continue this conversation because it's just, I'm getting into one of my tirades. I don't know if it's a healthy thing to keep me going right now.
All right, everybody
That's not
else.
healthy for anybody else.
Everybody else down to doing this next week?
Yeah, why not?
Sounds good. Gives me a chance to come up with a top 5 rather than be put on the spot.
But put on the spot's so much fun.
Yeah, being on the fly.
Yeah, there's no choreograph or no, so not choreograph. There's no script here. As I just proved with trying to use the word choreograph for script.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have some extreme ironing to do.
There you go. And
Oh, Jesus Christ.
on that note, anybody want to say any final words to the people listening before we call it a night?
Thank you and good night.
Brian?
Good night, everybody.
Make sure to like and subscribe
There you
There you
go.
go.
if you enjoyed this video.
Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you next week, where we're obviously going to continue to talk about pro wrestling, and I don't know. That may take up the whole hour, so we may be talking pro wrestling. So
Hey, why not?
we'll catch you next week, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye.
And we are out.
Woo-woo.
Hey, that's a show, guys.
Yeah, man.
I'm surprised I was able to do that the whole time, just sitting here playing Black Ops 3.
Why not? You played Black Ops 2 last week.
Yeah.
You know, got volume all the way up. Starting the output as soon as it lets me.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Alright, because all I see is me.
Oh. Yeah, turn off your camera. Just let it be an audio.
Is that better?
Yeah, Tony's here. Wow. All right. There we go. I'm going to play a little intro music and we'll get started here.
Checking, 1, 2, 3. Checking, 1, 2, 3.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Chris Wild bringing you back again, another episode of Breaking the Fourth Wall. Today, I have a special announcement. We have a full panel with us today, making his return, his triumphant return from wherever the hell he was hiding last week. Making his triumphant return from wherever the hell he was hiding at last week, we have Amadeus Thorne.
Hello, hello.
We have, joining us again, Brian Hayden. And as a... Sorry, go ahead.
Nah, just saying hey.
Hey. And as a special time, 2 weeks in a row, welcome JT Wild, my son.
How's it going?
Yo, JT! It's been forever!
Yeah, little known fact, Mike Thorne is the first person besides his mother that actually held Joey when he was first born.
Well, we're going to keep bringing that up, making me feel old. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Well, you know,
I'm only 20.
we talked about it the other day. We talked about it the other day. That flesh-colored yarmulke should make you feel old.
You know what? You can kiss my ass. How's that?
Oh, promises. So anyway, today's topic we thought we would pick on is sports. And
Sports? I might as well just be out of this one.
well, no. You'll enjoy this because it's picking on. I'm not talking about baseball, football, hockey. Even though I don't consider it a sport, I'm not necessarily picking on basketball either. but these obscure sports that you see around. And I mean, it's fitting with the Olympics going on right now. That we talk about some things. It's like it's considered a sport in the world, or it's built to being a sport. But
yeah,
really,
I don't know what's going on, but your mic is cutting in and out.
Yeah, as always.
Really, I'm hearing me just fine.
You always hear yourself just fine.
Yeah, well,
right.
Well, as I was saying, the major deal is like the world may consider it a sport, but really should it be considered a sport? Like, for a perfect first example is like dodgeball. Dodgeball, I would actually consider a sport because, I mean, you know, you're running around playing with a ball, trying to avoid getting hit. But is it really something that would be considered a televised sport?
Jesus Christ, what are you doing?
I'm not doing anything. That one's not me.
That's my bad. Moving along furniture. I figured I was outside talking, so I may as well do it. But I didn't realize it was going to kick that much feedback.
All right, so now we
So
know.
I'm just going to sit down now.
There you go. Sit down and enjoy the conversation. So,
Me sit down? Too long? Hell no.
So I'm going to go to Brian first on this one because I know he's already got something prepared for us. So, Brian, go ahead. Start us off.
How about some extreme ironing?
What?
Extreme ironing? That's a thing?
Yeah,
you
right?
You mean like ironing shirts?
Yeah, but you're doing it while you're on the hanging on the back of a boat.
I mean, that sounds a little funny. I would watch it, but I don't think it's a sport.
No, I'm with JT on the long. There's no way it would be a sport, but it'd be fun to watch for about 5 minutes.
Well, what is there details to that? I mean, like, what's the goal? Like, have the most pressed pants with the straightest crease while running down the rapids? I mean, what is it?
Basically, that's what it is. You're on a board. You got one hand holding on to the rope, and the other arm you're sitting there pressing your pants or your shirt.
Did you really just say that?
Yeah, and there actually is a burrow, the Extreme Ironing Burrow.
Oh God, stop it!
The latest danger sport that combines the thrills of an extreme outdoor activity with the satisfaction of a well-pressed shirt.
This is how they sell it.
Okay, sure, whatever.
I can see.
Commission.
I can see where this one's going to go.
Definitely don't see it being a sport, but it could be entertaining in a way.
I can definitely see where this show's going to go today.
I can see entertaining.
I don't know. I think I'd watch it.
Oh yeah, just for S's and G's, just like it'd be like watching the first episode of Camp WWE. You watch the first 5 minutes and you're done.
See, I was going to say fishing. Now, see, I love.
I'd rather watch grass grow.
See, as a sport, you know, something to do. I love fishing, but a fishing show. You ever flip through the channels and you come to a fishing show? You can't help but stop for at least 5 minutes just to see if the bastard catches anything. You know,
yeah, good point.
Otherwise,
all right. How about this?
All right, go ahead.
I'm in my backyard. What about extreme grass cutting? Why not?
The sad thing is if I wasn't running the stream right now, I would look that up to see if it actually is a sport.
And if it's not, I'm starting it.
Sponsored by John Deere.
I mean, I know they got lawnmower races.
Well, yeah, but that's lawnmower races. And I'm thinking in extreme grass cutting, like you have to come up with a Tim Allen type of more power, oh yeah, kind of thing, and cut grass. Doing something else.
Well, I mean, that's kind of fair because, I mean, in the areas where we live, we have a radio station out here, WMMR, that has a morning show called Preston and Steve. And
right.
Preston and Steve always annually do that soapbox derby race.
Soapbox derby?
Yeah, they have people, like, build, old-fashioned soapbox cars to ride down a giant hill with, and it's sponsored by a beer company, surprise.
Oh, you're talking about the sled thing?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't tell. What's... it's gonna kill me now.
I mean,
when I remember it.
we all have different. All cultures have a different type of thing they consider a sport. I mean, in Canada, they consider not only curling a sport, they consider it an Olympic event sport.
Mm-hmm.
Curling. Let me explain what this is. I'm going to stand on a sheet of ice. I'm going to push a rock down that slippery ice. While I'm doing that, you guys are going to stand there with brooms and brush in front of the rock to make sure it goes as far as it can. This is a sport.
Okay.
Sounds a little strange. Okay.
You never watched the Winter Olympics? This is an actual sport.
I don't watch the Olympics because I have other things better to do. No offense to anybody, but
Probably won't pay attention to the Olympics until 2020.
Yes. This'll bring up a conversation. Go ahead, Joe. What's coming in 2020 to the Olympics?
In 2020, a new sport or if you consider a sport, I do. Skateboarding will now be an Olympic sport in 2020.
I can buy that for $1.
Well, let's start off with that. Skateboarding started out pretty much in the 1980s, before it really became mainstream.